Hello everyone, I am Nitin from Fortune Academy. Today we are going to discuss few answers from GS2 paper. You know, GS2 has a lot of varied topics: polity, constitution, governance, social justice and international relations. We are going to take few answers from our topper Arya VM, who secured rank 36, and we'll give you insights about what was special about our answers, what was simple about our answers, because simplicity actually fetches you good marks. We'll discuss a few questions which she had answered from Fortuna's Academy's main series. So starting with this one: critically analyze the role of CVC in addressing the corruption among government officials, also suggests measures to increase the efficacy of the office of CVC. Now, we all talk about structure, but we also need to focus on the visibility of the points, the visibility of what all dimensions are we covering in the answer. Now, that's something that she does very well. So, a very simple introduction. CVC is envisaged as the bulwark against corruption in India. Now, she has spoken about the role because, if you can see, question is about critically analyze. So, you have to discuss two different sides of that particular body: the good, what they have achieved, the negatives, the challenges. So she has done that very well. In the role, she has spoken about merit. See, you can see how she has written role of CVC, and she has mentioned merits and few points. It's a 10 marker, remember, merits. And right after that, she had spoken about demerits. So there is visibility, role, merit, demerit. And in the next page, she goes on to speak about what can be done, what are the measures to be taken to make sure that CVC performs a better job in the country. And to conclude, CVC is a crucial body in making India corruption-free during the Amrit Kal of next 25 years. See, we can easily write a conclusion which is generic, but she makes sure that her conclusion has something contemporary, something which is happening in India or maybe the world if it's a global politics question, so that the examiner knows that this person reads the newspaper, this person knows why this body is important, how this body's performance can affect India in the nearby to long-term future. So this Amrit Kal might be the reason, or this conclusion might be the reason an extra point is given to her. I hope that's clear. Now, we go to the next question. So this is a social justice or pressure groups, SEG, that particular part of the syllabus. Evaluate the role played by SHGs in rural development in general and empowerment of rural women in particular. Right, so there are two different parts in the first sentence itself, and she has underlined it well. Pointing out the major hurdles in increasing the reach of SHGs suggests suitable measures to address them. Now, again, what you'll see in the answer is there are different parts to the answer, to the question. You have to identify the different parts and make sure that when you write, the examiner understands that you are catering to the different demands of the question. It can be through block diagrams, it can be through subheadings, but make the examiner understand, yes, I am meeting the demands of the question properly. Right? So, SHG groups are peer-led informal groups of people who come together to achieve the goals of socio-economic empowerment and independence. Now, role of SCG is the first part, if you remember the question. Role of SCGs in rural development in general and then women. So here, role of SCG, she writes many points, but good thing is she keeps writing examples with every point. Examples will make the examiner give you extra marks always, whichever paper you're talking about, even in optional. But here, this is an often neglected part in these questions. Examples to support all your points over here. Right? Now, hurdles in increasing the reach of SCG, institutional, other suggestions. Alright. So, you can see, I did not mention, but in the previous page itself, she had spoken about the role of SCG in the empowerment of women. Here, hurdles, again, more clarity is given to the answer when she's saying what are the hurdles, what are institutional hurdles and what are the other type of hurdles. Patriarchal attitudes, maybe you can add social angle and then you can mention patriarchal attitude as an inhibiting factor for SHGs. Now over here, suggestions, again, lot of examples, lot of steps that different committees have recommended. Now, coming down to the conclusion, self-help groups can be engines for India's self-reliance and Nari Shakti. Right? Again, something the Prime Minister of India keeps talking about. So, the examiner would have definitely read about it. Examiner would have definitely heard about it. So, again, a value addition. Now, last question I would want to discuss is an IR question. I've selected this question primarily because India-Britain relationship is not something that you keep writing about. Yes, you read about because, recently we had an Indian urchin becoming the Prime Minister of Britain. But then this is last year's mains test series. You have to understand that. Right? You are not reading a lot about India-Britain relationship. We constantly read about India, Russia, India, USA, problems with China and all. So, the reason why I want to show this question is, she knows what we can write under XYZ country's relationship with India. There are certain subheadings that we have to definitely write and fill. That's what she has done. A lot of generic points, because you can always expect a question where you do not have a lot of specific points in the real exam. But just because you don't have specific points does not mean that you give a half-hearted attempt or you give a half-hearted answer. Half-baked answers would not fetch you good marks. You have a template, E points, these points have to be filled. These subheadings have to be filled in IR. That's what she did. So leaving behind the yesteryear inertia, Britain and India have kick-started multidimensional sectors of cooperation comment. So, Britain and India share a long history of colonial rule and Commonwealth association. Brexit and shift of global power center from Atlantic to Indo-Pacific has revived Indo-British relation. So, in her introduction, she has spoken about the colonial history as well as contemporary latest development, Brexit and the shift of power from the Atlantic to Indo-Pacific. That's something which is going to impress anyone. Now, there was something about yesterday inertia. There are many people last year whose papers I had checked who had forgotten about the yesterday inertia. They focused on what we are doing right now. The opportunity between India and Britain and what we are doing right now. This has to be covered definitely. Reasons behind inertia and relation. See again, when we see this, the examiner's impression is, okay, this person is covering every aspect of the question. Few points, right? And you can see some of the points are actually very generic points. These are the points that you study for India-EU relation. And what are the concerns between India-EU relation? What has she done? She has taken those points and extrapolated that to another European country, Britain. So that's where you're being creative. Alright. So strict sanitary, phytosanitary measures, mode 4 services, problems with regards to that. These are things that you learn for EU, not necessarily Britain. Right. Now, new multidimensional cooperation, political, right? Then economic, cultural, very important. A lot of our diaspora is there, right? Strategic. Now here she has used a lot of things that generally we read about. China, 5G, you speak about critical technology. All those points are included here, but they might not be specific. But she has mentioned these key words which cannot be wrong. Which cannot be wrong. They are not wrong, but they are not something that you generally read about. Alright, so Indo-Pacific to counter China's rise. And again, way ahead, you need to write about what should be done, suggest measures, lot of generic points. See, FTA, we are discussing FTA, so more FTAs, lower tariff. She has incorporated a point which you generally read in the environment topic, the OSOVOG or the CDRI, right? And concluding, provided post-Brexit realities and Indo-Pacific strengthening of Indo-UK relations are vital than ever. Right? So, I hope you understand it is not necessary for you to read a lot to answer these questions. Your current affairs knowledge, your prelims preparation can help you incorporate some points in questions where you think you don't know the answer, but you have generic points in your repertoire to fire all the time. All right. Thank you.